Hi, my name is Marnie Winters. Thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel. The purpose of this channel is to give viewers information about college and career topics. Today's topic is the free application for federal student aid, that is the FAFSA form, and that's the form that students fill out to borrow federal student loans, as well as to determine their eligibility for federal grants and state grants. Even if you don't plan to borrow loans, it's worth it to fill the FAFSA form out because grant money is free money that you do not have to repay. So every little bit of money is going to help. If you're eligible for even one grant, that is going to be money that's going to count for you towards tuition, towards supplies. Every little bit's going to help. The loans you will have to pay back once you either stop attending college for 6 months or once you graduate. You will need to pay those loans back, but the grants are free money. Like I said, you do not have to pay those back at all. So always make sure to take the grants. It will do nothing but help you out with absolutely no negative consequence whatsoever. When you sit down to fill out the FAFSA form, there are some documents that you'll need to have on hand. You will need to have your social security number, or if you are not a U.S. citizen, you'll need to have an alien registration number on hand. You will also need to have copies of your taxes, your W-2 statement, bank statements, any investment statements, any untaxed income statements, any kind of income that you've gotten at all for the previous year. You'll need to have that in front of you because you'll be asked about it on the FAFSA form. You'll also need to have an FSA ID, and you can get that on the main FAFSA website, and their address is FAFSA. It's the first initials for the free application for federal student aid, FAFSA.gov. And when you go there, you will see a green button that says Start a New Application. Go ahead and click on that. You will see another screen that tells you to put in your FSA ID. Even though you don't have one yet, go ahead and click on that. A new spot will open up, and there will be an area where you can get the FSA ID if you don't have one already. And that's actually the quickest and easiest way I found to get that ID. And what that ID is it's a legal signature. So that way you can electronically sign the FAFSA form and submit that online. It'll be required by the federal government that you have that so that you can get the form turned in to be considered for any grants as well as the federal loans. Now, if you are under the age of 24, you will be considered a dependent of your parents. So you're going to need to have their same information too. Everything that I just listed that you need to have, if you are under the age of 24, you will also need that same list of documents for your parents. Their social security, their alien registration number if they are not a U.S. citizen, taxes, W-2s, untaxed income documents, any document showing any kind of income whatsoever. Now, if you are under the age of 24, there are some instances where you can be considered an independent student. You'll want to go online to find that list of areas in which you can be considered an independent student. The best way to do that is just go on and do a Google search through your internet browser. And the quickest way I have found to find that is in your search bar, just type in FAFSA list of dependent student. And the first few hits that you get will be lists, and it will give you everything that you need. And generally the list that you get will be from the FAFSA website, but it includes things such as being married, working on a master's degree or a doctorate, having a child, having somebody rely on you for more than half of their support. So it will give you the entire list. It's a pretty long list. So that's why I'm going to have you go and search for that instead of taking notes on it. So that way once you find the list, you can just print that. Make sure that you have that list before you fill the FAFSA out if you're under the age 24, because it will make the difference in the amount and types of money that you're able to receive. If you're under the age 24 and can be considered an independent student, it's actually going to work in your favor. So make sure that you've got that list before you sit down to fill that FAFSA out. So that will be the other important document that it is that you're going to need to have when you sit down to fill that out. Now, as you go through the form, it's pretty self-guided. As you go through each question, it's going to very specifically tell you what it is that you're looking for and where to go find it. When it's asking you for the tax information, for instance, and it tells you to put in certain items from the tax, it'll tell you what line to go to on the form that you filled out, so that way you're putting in the exact number and the exact information it is that they're looking for. So it is pretty self-guided. They've actually made it better in recent years to help students be able to get through it a little bit easier. When you sit down to do the FAFSA for the first time, allow about 2.5 hours or so to complete that form. You'll need to make sure that you have your taxes done first for the previous year. So for people who are filling out for this upcoming year, for the 2017-2018 year, they will need the information off of their taxes from the year 2016. So you'll need to fill one of these forms out every single year. The preference deadline is March 1st, so you'll need to hurry and get your taxes done during February and get those turned in so that you've got that information and can turn that in on the FAFSA form to be considered. The preference deadline is just for the maximum amount of eligibility, the most favored results as far as grants and monies that they give out to students. But you can fill that FAFSA form out any time of the year. Sometimes students may not decide that they want to go back to school until June or July. Well, they're way past that March 1st deadline. You can still fill that FAFSA form out, but by that time, all the best financial aid may already be gone. Once the funds are gone, they're gone, unfortunately. But if nothing else, you should still at least be able to get loans, possibly some grants, depending on what state you live in and the deadlines that they have set. And the deadlines will be different for each state. When you do the FAFSA form, it will ask you what schools you want to have the information sent to. You will be able to find the school codes on the FAFSA website. They have their own codes for each school. Make sure that you double check that you're selecting the right school. You will be able to select that as you're filling the form out. Once you get that form completed, then the federal government will assess your information and then send it to the college you'll be attending. Then the financial aid office at your college will process that information, and they will send you a letter in the mail that tells you what you're eligible to get, and at that point you will just turn that back into them, indicating if you want to borrow loans or not, how much loans that you want to borrow. If the financial aid office at your college needs any more information, they will let you know. The way that they will let you know is just going to vary from college to college. Some colleges will send out an email, some may call you, some may send a letter to you in the mail. Sometimes some students may be selected for verification, and that just means that the federal government and your financial aid office needs more information to make a determination about what you're eligible to receive for financial aid. It happens to everybody at least once. If you end up attending school for an associate's or a bachelor's degree, Most students have it happen at least once. Some students may have it happen more than one time. It may happen 2 or 3 or even 4 times. It just depends. It's random. There is no rhyme or reason to who gets selected. It just happens. If it does happen, your financial aid office will help you work through that, and they'll let you know what it is that you need to do, what it is that you need to get turned in, and they'll be able to answer any questions that you have about that. Well, that is my presentation today for the FAFSA form. This was just a brief overall information session for the FAFSA form because so many people fill that out and use those funds. So hopefully this will help get you started heading in the right direction. Thanks again for tuning into my channel and watching my video. I hope to have you here for future videos. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.